Qing's Prose Little Foot Pyramid. I have 7 aunts, and the one I want to talk about here is the 5th. My 5th aunt got married when she was 17, and her husband died in the spring of 19. Her husband's family was rich, but her mother-in-law was very cruel. So my grandfather asked her family to let her study in M's Literary Hall. Although her academic performance was mediocre when she was studying, she was very skilled in sewing, cooking and other subjects. At that time, the principal's wife also lived in the school, and the female students would go to her to chat and flatter her after school. She had the best rapport with my 5th aunt, partly because her pitiful life experience as a young matchmaker roused her sympathy, and secondly because she was good at needlework and could often embroider pillow flowers for her or translate the works of the principal. Silk cotton robe. After the 5th aunt graduated, the principal's wife could not bear to let her go and insisted on keeping her as a dormitory in the school. Of course, she was willing to agree, so she has been working as the dormitory master until now, although she has changed her name to female trainer in name. My 5th aunt has a short and fat figure, and a pair of reformist little feet that she wears the latest shoes from time to time. Indeed, she always strives for newness and decoration, although she never dislikes the oldness in mind. The time I had the most contact with her was after the M Prefecture Girls' School was renamed the M County Women's Normal School, and then the M County Women's Normal School was renamed the M County Middle School. At that time, it was just the beginning of the implementation of male and female classmates, so the 5th aunt was eager to strictly carry out her duties, fearing that such girls would accidentally be tempted and cause some trouble. I was only 12 years old when I entered middle school. I was jumping around like a skinny monkey. I didn't need to guard against this kind of thing, but my 5th aunt had to worry about the world and earnestly warned her, "Put your skirt lower. Don't you see that even your knees are exposed? Don't perm your hair from now on. It will look as fluffy as a ghost. Why don't you take off that little scarf on your neck? What's the point of wearing such a colorful school uniform? After class, go back to the girls' study room quickly to review your homework. Don't just watch the boys playing football on the playground. Alas, you still open your mouth and laugh when you don't watch enough. I will deduct your conduct points. Laugh. If you don't obey me, I will write to your father." But I know she won't write a letter to tell her father, because it is easier for her to hold a pen than to hold a needle. Usually when she wants to write a letter to her father, she has to waste a dozen pieces of paper first. Some of them just write the sentence 6 brothers are like each other, but find that the grid is wrong. And some of them can't write more than 3 or 5 lines and have to look up the words in the dictionary. Every time she has been writing carelessly for a week, she has to write to me if she can't write well. I don't read books every day, and I don't write letters. Your father asked me to urge you to lose weight, and if you don't hurry up and send me a letter tomorrow, don't worry about it. Just write me a few words. I didn't dare to answer after hearing this, so I stuck out my tongue and went outside. There were always people outside laughing at her behind her back, which made it easier for me to express my grievances. They are all high-class girls, and they will definitely lose their temper when they see me. Hey, Asian, did you know that the boy in the 2nd year of high school gave your aunt another nickname? It's called Little Foot Pyramid, which means that she looks like a pyramid from head to butt, with only 2 extra little feet. The senior boys in high school said that she wears high heels on her small feet and walks around like a 2-legged compass. Ha 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 ha. I laughed too, and I felt a lot more comfortable. But soon this nickname of 2-footed rule no longer applied, because she saw how fun we were wearing basketball shoes. So she also bought a pair of small basketball shoes for 7 or 8-year-old children. The toe of the sneakers was so wide that she had to stuff a lot of old cotton into them when she wore them. When the boys saw her walking by wearing these shoes, they would always start clapping and cheering. Little basketball shoes. Little basketball shoes. 1 basketball shoe. Half a piece of rotten cotton. Small basketball shoes. Small. But the 5th aunt was not very angry. She sometimes said to me with a smile, "The nicknames have to be similar, right? You see, those boys are really unreasonable. I am already an old woman, and you still call me a little ball." She loves the nickname Little, and she loves these little basketball shoes even more, because the monthly exams were being held at that time. Girls often lit candles secretly at night to read. She knew this, so she often quietly went to the door of each dormitory to look round after turning off the lights at night. The sneakers had rubber soles and made no sound when walking, so she was able to push through the door unprepared and pick up their candle matches. She handed the candle stubs and empty match boxes to the education office for filing, while she accumulated long candles and full boxes of matches to give to my grandmother. At that time, my home was in the countryside and we had not yet installed electric lights. In a few days, there will be a math test. I have always been afraid of this subject of mathematics, but a male classmate sitting in the row behind me was nicknamed Little Edison and was the best at mathematics. His surname was Joe. When I couldn't help it, I often called out Miss Joe and turned around to ask him for advice. Later, I didn't know who told others that there was something wrong between us, so I passed the word to 2, and then to 3, all the time. The boys all called me Mrs. Edison. I was already 15 years old at that time. After hearing this, I felt strange in my heart. I never dared to look back and ask him in math class. I haven't called out Miss Dutch for more than half a month. This name seems to be a bit awkward for me now, until the eve of this math test. The math teacher told us that we must complete all the more than 160 trigonometric exercises within 2 days, and then turn them in within the hour required for the exam, and the monthly exam results will be calculated. I worked hard, but I still couldn't solve more than 30 questions. My head hurt so much that I had to put down my legs and go to the riverside to get some cool night breeze. That night, because all the students in the school were busy preparing for the monthly exams, the riverside was quiet with a moon hanging high above. As I walked, I muttered something like, Sina plus SSB. The more I recited the triangle question, the more I recited it, and my heart stopped. Before I could reach the foot of the pavilion, I heard a gentle question coming from the foot of the pavilion. Have you finished your triangle yet, Miston? I was shocked, but when he looked at it carefully, he couldn't help but feel his face heat up. Not yet, I answered, lowering my head. Don't you have to hand in the papers tomorrow? I can't do it. I felt ashamed yet hopeful. Will you give me some help, Mist. Joe? I read out the awkward word Joe with all my strength. So he asked me which questions he couldn't answer, and I told him a few casually. I was so panicked that I could only think of 13 or 5 of the more than 30 questions I couldn't answer. I said I was going to the study room to get the books. He taught me to go faster. He was waiting for me by the river. I lowered my head and ran straight to the study room. After less than 10 steps, at the corner notice board, I saw my 5th aunt standing behind her with a livid face. Where are you running to right now? She asked me fiercely. Let's study. My excitement immediately turned into panic. I was afraid that she would not be satisfied after I said it. So I added, let's go and study the math problems. Are you taking a math test tomorrow? Yes. So she sneered. You still have time to talk to others? I want to smash that pyramid and break that 2-footed leg. Who would believe that Dad has such a disgusting sister? However, I finally didn't dare to take the book and go to the riverside. I just lowered my head on a study table and slowly drew round with the compass. Of course, I wasn't in the mood to do the trigonometric exercises. As usual, she came to supervise the night classes during self-study. If the girls even yawned, she would give her a thumbs up. So they made fun of her and deliberately asked her about math, English, and other questions. She replied with a straight face, "This is not mine responsibility. You have to ask. But, sir, are you as knowledgeable as you afraid that you won't be able to explain such superficial topics? To save us from running round in the dark to find another teacher, you can just do things other than your responsibilities carelessly." She just asked to take the book and read it, but immediately handed it back to the beggar. She said, "Although the question is very simple, I can't do anything other than my responsibilities." I was secretly happy. And just when I was about to solve a trigonometric problem, I saw Wang Ma peeking her head out the window and winking at me. I pretended to relieve myself and slipped out. When Wang Ma saw me, she hurriedly came up and told me, "Miss Ding, you have a letter." I hurriedly went to pick it up as if I had a premonition. Suddenly, the door of the study room opened. After opening it, the 5th aunt stood at the door and asked, "Who wrote it?" She seemed to have some premonition. I handed over the letter speechlessly, having not yet taken a look at it. Monday 1 by 1 m. she said to herself after reading it. But when she saw 3 or 5 people visiting the study room, she quickly changed her words. This is E. This is your eldest sister ode to you. Now go to your self-study and come to my room to get it after class, she said and stared at me hard, and I couldn't help but shudder. This hour seemed extremely long and boring, and that's how it felt to me. I finally made it to the end of get out of class. I opened the letter with shaking hands in her room. It was 13 or 5 completed trigonometric exercises. Thank God. The 5th aunt is also relieved. Soon, Jo-jun and I got engaged. But my 5th aunt still refused to relax her guard against me. She paid attention to the novels I read every day. Reading love novels will make girls happy, she told my mother. Asian is a married woman now. Can we still let her have other activities in her heart? Once, she dug out a copy of Education of Love from under my pillow and insisted that it was a pornographic book and that she must write to my father immediately. Fortunately, a high school girl came out to defend me. If the word love in the title of a book means it is unacceptable, then Ding Asian herself should have been expelled long ago. The 5th aunt was silent, but still took the book to her own bookshelf. Later, she felt that the best way to prevent young men and women was to simply persuade us to get married early. She embroidered many pillow flowers for us when we got married, and now that we have children, she is busy embroidering tiger head shoes for my children. She is still working as a female training officer at M Middle School, but judging from the photos she sent us recently, her body has become much thinner. Her buttocks no longer look like the bottom of a pyramid, and according to her own letter, her toes are there is always moisture in the seams. So I am afraid that these little rubber-soled basketball shoes will have to be temporarily abandoned, I think.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.